Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Embodied by Mac. My name is Michaela. I'm an evolutionary and predictive astrologer, and today we're here for your February 2026 horoscopes. This is a rocking and rolling month because we start off the month with a very dramatic full moon in Leo, and then we have Saturn moving into Aries, which is initiating a 3-year cycle. Saturn's going to conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, which is a cycle we have never experienced before in our lifetimes. That's a total reset in a certain part of your life. And we also have a new eclipse season starting in the Aquarius Leo axis. So, eclipse seasons tend to be pretty intense and can accelerate things in our life and feel like we're being forwarded back onto our path or redirected onto our path. And it's really where time collapses, karmic situations kind of fall into place and we get redirected and pushed along further in our journey for growth, for evolution, to meet your aspirations, to meet your goals, your manifestations, what have you. But eclipses can be intense emotional periods. So we're going to talk about that definitely. And then towards the end of the month, we are in the middle to the end of the month, we are in a Mercury retrograde period. So, first Mercury retrograde of 2026. So, there's just a few things I want to touch on for each of the astrological signs for this month. I think that's pretty much enough to get covered. And at the end, if you feel like you want a reading with me, then you can go to embodiedbymac.com. You can book a reading right through there, or you can connect with me on any of my social media on Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube. You can find my email, send me a letter, and let me know if I can help you. And if you want a reading to navigate the next 6 months ahead for us in 2026. Okay, so make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and get ready for your horoscope. Okay, so we're going to begin with Aries because Aries, you are first in the zodiac. So we kick off February 1st with a full moon in your fifth house in Leo. So full moons are fun energy usually, and this one is in a very fun sign for you in your fifth house. So, this is about illumination, okay? Full moons are about an illumination or even an integration point. So this is happening in a house where it's about creativity and your fun and your pleasure in life. So you could be coming to a fullness or realization or even an integration point with something that you've been working on that you are connected with creativity. Why am I having a time? Creatively. Thank you. Something that feels like it's a baby of yours, essentially, right? Something, maybe it's a project, maybe it's a piece of artwork, maybe it's a dance routine, anything that could be connected to your hobbies or things of pleasure or things that are a joy for you. Those could be coming to, some type of integration, some type of illumination, or maybe you're just reaching another level of infusing meaning into this structure. And it's going to allow you to look at it from like a larger perspective and a larger picture so you can fulfill that. This could also deal with children in your life. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are your children, although this tends to fall in the fifth house. So maybe you're reaching, a point of in your pregnancy where, you're ready to have a baby soon, or maybe you're finding out that you're going to have a baby, or maybe there's something linked to your child that you already have, that brings you a sense of fulfillment and purpose, but, they're coming into a fulfillment or a progression, or maybe they're winning a award, or there's something tied there to, their personal ego and, what fills them up with joy and a sense of purpose. And that's coming to a fulfillment or alignment. This is also a house that has to do with not only our creativity and our pleasure and our fun, but also our dating atmosphere. Okay. I'd consider this one of the sexual houses as well. Eighth house is more about like the deeper intimacy and sex and relationships, and fifth house is more of like playful dating. and playful fun. So maybe there is somebody that's coming into your life, if you're a single Aries, that is sparking a fire. It's coming into perspective, like, oh, I could date this person, or they're asking you out on a date, or some type of romance is beginning, okay? Or maybe you're fulfilling in your current relationship some type of spark of like new romance heating up, right? Some kind of joy, or maybe this is a fun date night out that really gets you to feel playful within yourself and with your partner. Okay. Overall, it's like a pretty nice full moon, but it's just definitely going to highlight things that bring you joy, pleasure, fun, and are linked to your sense of self and your sense of identity, and how you can share that with other people in your world, to include children of that atmosphere. Then we're going to move into February 13th, which is a pretty big day because this is when Saturn and Neptune are not only going to be conjoining in at 0 degrees Aries, which is a world point, but Saturn is also starting its official 3-year cycle in Aries, which is going to be crossing your ascendant. Okay. Again, this can be for Aries sun, moon, or rising, but specifically, I'm focusing on the Aries ascendant people here. Um, when Saturn is crossing the ascendant and Neptune, I'm going to speak about both. When Saturn's crossing the ascendant, this is more like a serious tone coming into play, okay? Because Saturn really wants you to look at things of responsibility in your life, okay? And where are you putting your time and your commitments, okay? Where can you push for growth, right? So you can stand more in your power and claim more authority essentially in your life. Um, it can feel for the next 3 years like there's a more serious undertone that is coming over you, and that's pretty normal. But Saturn here is really just meant to teach you more about boundaries, right? And so you're going to start considering who you feel you are to the world because it's crossing your ascendant, and that's your identity. That's your sense of self. That's how you initiate yourself out into the world and you present yourself out into the world. So some people might be taking their self-image under scrutiny during this time. You might be considering weight loss. This is actually a great time for people if they want to put more restrictive, obviously healthy diets into place, where they lose weight or they get more serious about weight training. Saturn is weight, right? So for Aries sun and Aries rising and moon people, you could get more into weight training. You could focus more on muscle building. More on strength overall, like changing your physical body, your identity to appear more strong, to appear more sturdy. Okay. Saturn here, it gets such a tough, you know, just flavor, I think, in most astrology, but I think Saturn are crossing the ascendant. If somebody wants to overall build more fortitude in their life and strength in their image, Saturn crossing the ascendant is something that you'll get once every 30 years. And it's really a great time to tell Saturn, this is what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work hard for the next 30 years, and you're going to start to reap the rewards within this 3-year period. Okay, so you would have had a preview of Saturn in Aries from May 24th, 2025 to September 1st, 2025. For me, I'm an Aries sun, and that is when it was around the time right after I had won my first fitness competition, and then I was getting more serious about other directions in my life that were related to winning the fitness competition. So training for a second show, which I'm going to do this year, which is right in alignment with Saturn and Aries. And then incorporating wellness and health and strength training and nutrition and all those things into my astrology practice. Okay. So it wants you to consider like where you're going to push for growth, okay? And it's going to initiate another 30-year cycle, okay? So this can also bring about things with your self-image and respect. So you might consider How can I respect myself more? How can I respect my body more? How can I take up space and protect my image in a way that's going to move me towards growth or recognition, or even look as like an authority figure in some type of sense. Maybe some Aries or Aries risings are focusing on, career pushes or career growths or um, more power in their communities and like more authority and power in their networks, right? And Saturn coming in here is going to help you kind of navigate where you need to focus and put a little bit more due diligence into yourself and your own direction in life so that you can achieve those things in the long term. Okay. Um, but at the same time, you're getting Neptune here, right? So Neptune and Saturn at 0 degrees Aries is a very big deal. It's a very big transit. This is at a world point. So the things that are initiated now with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction beginning in your life, these are massive events. And Neptune essentially is going to color, in the backdrop of your life, some bigger concepts that are going on. Saturn can be felt as an intermediate, more long-term day-to-day, like a 3-year cycle. But the Neptune is a 14-year cycle. Okay. So there's this transpersonal experience that's happening on the background with Neptune crossing the ascendant. So at the same time, this can be very challenging, I think, for some Aries as well, because on one hand, Saturn's going to want you to make commitments and work hard. But on the other hand, Neptune is going to come in and, to me, bring this sense of needing more rest. Okay. More time out, or at least more protection when it comes to your personal space and your personal boundaries. So for many Aries or Aries risings with this Saturn Neptune conjunction and then Neptune crossing your ascendant and being in your ascendant for the next 14 years, there's a need to know when rest is considered respect for yourself and your personal recovery and giving yourself that. Now, Neptune on your sun or ascendant is amazing because yes, I believe that this is going to require you to like sleep a lot more and rest. But I also believe that this is going to crack open new levels of intuition. Okay. So it's almost like your body is going to become hypersensitive to energy, but it will also become a channel and be able to connect to the spiritual realm in much greater ways. So for me, the way through this confusing and difficult transit, but also extremely magical in life-giving transit, is to make sure that you give a lot of responsibility to how you're taking care of your physical self. And the stronger you can make your physical body, and that is by the right nutrition, the right sleep, the right diet and exercise, right? Then you make a stronger vessel that will be able to withstand and withhold all of the energy that's going to be flooded in by Neptune. Okay. So for many Aries rising and Aries sun people, I think this is an opening for the next 14 years for you to become a channel. Okay. A channel for otherworldly things, reading energy in different ways, psychic downloads, opening up to higher levels of empathy and compassion and consciousness, okay, for all those healers out there or energy workers, even personal trainers and so forth. Very profound time for Neptune to be coming in and hitting your sun sign, okay? But there is definitely a need to be able to make sure that your physical body can handle the overload, right, from the spiritual realm that will be funneling through you, okay? Because you basically are going to become like a satellite dish for spiritual energy to come in, okay? And you might also, with this Neptune transit here, might feel some type of sense to like perform more, right? Or kind of put on a mask or put on this spiritual mask, right? To, become something else because we can kind of mold ourselves into this mystical, magical, artistic looking, sparkly, glamorized figure when Neptune comes in and hits a planet, especially when it's coming over our ascendant or our sun sign or our moon sign. Okay. Um, so there's this renewal energy that's coming in, but it's more glamorized. Okay. It's more glamorized. Sometimes with Neptune, we can look at things from a rose-colored lens and they're not what they seem. Well, we might not be what other people might perceive us as something that we are actually not, right? So, and that's okay. I think if you want to come up with an alter ego or an alter identity, right? Maybe you decide to get into acting, or maybe you're deciding to get into dance, right? Or improv in your community, or maybe you decide to, go on social media, but kind of like create this other persona. In a way, Neptune can allow you to play for that as long as it's aligned with, your higher self and like compassion and empathy for people. And you're not playing with karma in a negative sense. You know what I mean? Like there's healthy ways to engage with that. For other people, the hard work and the commitment that you're putting in and initiating into your physical presence can absolutely glamorize you. This could be a total beautiful leveling up for men and women, Aries, um, to just soften yourself a bit, right? Strengthen, but also soften yourself. Like maybe your skin begins to glow better. Maybe your shapes, start to change and more, sensual looking ways, and you give off this siren energy almost, right? With the Neptune coming over your ascendant, but with the Saturn here, encouraging, responsibility and hard work and giving respect to your physical body that feels compassionate for yourself. Um, Next, we have on February 17th a solar eclipse. And that is a very big deal. So, this isn't exact the time, but I could like move back the hours for those who it matters to. It is the first solar eclipse that we're going to have in the Aquarius Leo axis. So, as you can imagine, eclipses, and I have spoken them before on my channels, they are very big deals. The energy can feel really rushed around eclipse season, and I want to encourage people to not feel like you actually have to rush to make decisions during this time. Eclipses just intensify things, and if you are not on your cosmic right path, right, or you're really off, right? You're really off on your karmic journey or your karmic path. This is when an eclipse comes in and it puts you in a realignment. And that's when it's kind of, to me, from what I have seen, more aggressive. Okay. If you're just like real far off in your path, like an eclipse timeline will come in, it will collapse time essentially, and it will show up as major turning points in your life, right? And that will just give you a redirection. Okay. And so for Aries risings, this is showing up in your 11th house, right? With your groups and communities. Okay. So this is all about who are you friends with? Okay. And if you're not friends with the right people, right, this eclipse energy is both a ending and a new beginning because it's happening at the last degrees of Aquarius. So when eclipses happen at the last degrees of Aquarius, it is um a ending, right? A finality, if you will, right? It is an important point in the cosmic chart. But then also a solar eclipse is a new beginning, okay? But then with every new moon that we're going to have, there's an ending that's related because something needs to close, something needs to make space for energy for something new to move in. So this is very much paradoxical, but I believe that for a lot of Aries or Aries risings, this is heavily going to be associated with your friendship groups and your networks and the communities that you're involved in. Okay. So there's initiation, a start, a new beginning, essentially, of these things moving. So for many Aries risings, you're going to get new friends. new like-minded communities coming in. Your values might shift, and then essentially that's why you're being throttled into new communities and so forth. Like, who are you hanging out with, right? Who has the same visions as you, who has the same goals as you. And the 11th house is also a house where we can make money as well. It's not one of the main money houses I will use when I do a reading, but it is linked to, your social media on some landscape. This could be say you are a fitness teacher, right? You're a fitness teacher, so your community will be your clients, right? So if you're changing the way that you run your classes, that could initiate you into a new studio or a new framework of, how you're doing things or your vision of how you're approaching your fitness, which is going to change your clients, which is going to change your resources and how you make your money. Okay. So there is an upgrade, I think, because with this solar eclipse, it's an Aquarius, which is all about freedom and liberation. So for many Aries risings, you're experiencing this freedom and this liberation coming in when it comes to your friendship groups, and so forth. You can look back if you want to look back to other times where these eclipses have happened in your 11th house to get similar themes. There will be some differences, of course, but there would be similar themes that come up also because they're patterns that are here to be revisited again for whatever reason, either for more learning or accelerated growth, evolution essentially in this era of your life. But the last time we had these sets of eclipses in your 11th house was February of 2017 to January of 2019. So you kind of want to probably pause the video, take a moment, reflect back of what happened between February of 2017 to January of 2019. And then if you want to go even further back, there was another set of eclipses, February of 2008 to August of 2009. Just to give you an example, again, I'm not an Aries rising, but I am an Aries sun. I was having career shifts each of those times, but they were connected to new groups of people that I was meeting because of the career shifts that I was having. And yeah, both of those were linked with career shifts and how I made my money essentially, with those groups of communities of people as well. Um, and then at the end of the month, we will also have a February, yes, Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is going to begin on February 26th. Okay, and it is in the sign of Pisces, and Mercury will be in Pisces the entire retrograde. The shadow period begins February 11th. So you will start to see themes February 11th, and they will continue all the way until March 20th when Mercury moves direct. So this is a time for Aries risings. Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 12th house for you to make sure that you back up all of your contacts, your files, your computers, and so forth, all of the normal things that we would recommend with a Mercury retrograde. Um, Not a time to start any new projects, but really a time to go within and kind of revise over things of like the bigger picture here. Okay. This is a spiritual house. So Mercury retrograde, we want to kind of review, where might we be undermining ourselves, okay? Or, what is the bigger picture here? How are you making everything connected to the bigger picture? This is a time where you could probably need more rest and more sleep. If you're trying to push anything out publicly, this wouldn't be the time. It would not really be seen until after Mercury moves direct and enters Aries. So if you're working on any behind the scene projects or you're thinking about launching a project, I would, revise it, revisit, maybe make sure that, you've crossed your T's, dotted your I's, fixed everything up. This is also a time where you could probably hear back from people from the past. Because this is the 12th house transit, this is also a time when you could find out about things that haven't been in your view. Maybe pieces of information that are important to you that could be linked to friendship groups or partners that you didn't know were happening before. They could be work related since the South Node is going to be in your sixth house during this time. It could deal with health things that maybe are undermining you. Maybe you find out you've been eating something that, is causing you to flare up, at this time, or causing inflammation, or, you know, you decide to, just absolutely cut out sugar during this time, right? This could be health related as well, as this is a health access, okay? But often the 12th house is things that we're doing that undermine ourselves. So this is a really good time to kind of go within, retreat, do more meditation. Because with Neptune there crossing your ascendant, remember, you're going to be more of a channel now for spiritual downloads. So this is a time when you could actually utilize to a bigger capacity that those Neptune gifts of becoming a channel. So maybe this is when you decide that, hey, I might take a mediumship course down the line, or I might take a course on intuition, right, down the line. Or you might be honing in on those skills, or even networking with other people to learn those skills when Mercury goes direct and starts to cross your ascendant and initiates new beginnings for you on that mental level. Okay, so Aries, I hope this helped. It's a big, powerful month ahead for you, and I will be back soon.